15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
This is BBC One in the Northwest. Now look north, followed by Nationwide.
Yes, this is the very studio from which Look North every weekday is broadcast, and I'm sitting in the very seat in which Stuart Hall sits to present it. This is the hot seat, in fact, from where everything is brought together and smoothly linked in Stuart Hall's own inimitable style. Scattered around the studio are other seats where our Northwest journalists sit, such as Dick Duckenfield, Felicity Goody and Nick Clark, to give their latest news reports. And here right next to me is in fact the news desk, from where many a thrilling story has been broken. And here is the interview position. And I know it doesn't look much like it now, but in fact this studio used to be the boardroom of a certain well-known high street bank. And even before that, the building used to be a hotel. But the studio, in fact, started life in the black and white days of 1955, and with only modest equipment. There were people working there then who are in fact still working here now. But the studio has gone on since then and was colorized in the early 1970s, and it's now reaching the end of its useful working life as regional television gets ready to move into a brand new studio in 1981. But just because this studio is an old one, it doesn't mean that we can't get up to some rather modern special effects. For instance, have you ever wondered how they put those background scenes in behind the newsreader? No, they don't rush around making big photo blow-ups all the time. They in fact use this yellow board behind me and some electronic trickery. Another camera is pointed at the background scene and then electronically inserted onto that yellow patch, just like that. But because the process is dependent upon colour, it does mean that you have to be careful. If I was wearing yellow, the background scene would insert itself on me, and we don't want that, do we? And finally, we have the Look North weather caption, which in fact ends every edition of Look North. And a tatty old thing it is too. I think the whole of Lancashire is just about to fall off. So we definitely need a new one of those. This nice stately home is actually a set in the main production studio in Manchester, Studio A, and it's part of a programme which I'll tell you about in a few minutes' time. But first of all, come and have a look at the cameras. Now you can see it's a studio now, because here they are, all the hardware. This is a fairly normal sort of camera used in a studio. It's called an ME 2008, and I'd like to tell you how it works, but I can't. However, I can tell you what all the little bits and pieces are. This is an automatic cueing device, so that the performer can see his script while still looking at the camera lens. It's projected onto a screen in front. This is the lens. This is the lens. It's a nice zoom lens, so you can get in close. Here's the main part of the camera with the cable, and this is where the cameraman sits, where his controls are. This is the zoomer. That's for focusing, and this is the viewfinder. And in fact it's mounted on a fairly unusual sort of mount. It's a big one called a heron, and the idea of this is to get the height. It can go up to about 8 foot, and it's driven by a second man up here, whose main job is not only to get the camera into the right position, but also to try and avoid demolishing the set. And he doesn't always achieve that, I can tell you. Well, in fact, the size of this studio is small to medium in broadcasting terms. The BBC have much bigger ones than this, but this doesn't mean that the variety of programmes that can be done is restricted. All sorts can be done here. In fact, where I'm standing was at one time Kilvert's living room in the Kilvert Diaries, and tomorrow it's going to be a croquet course for the children's sports programme Stopwatch. Well, this set here is in fact for Richard Stilgoe's programme, and now the good news, and this is his piano, which he always presents his programme from, and here are some nice sail effects from the scenic department at the background. Well, anyway, over here is something which should be familiar, this great expanse of colour. You may remember in Studio N we put pictures behind a newsreader on a yellow patch. Well, this is the same process, only on a much bigger scale, for really unusual effects that can be done on Richard Stilgoe's show. In fact, today we've put him into an 18th century street scene, we've put statues into the picture, we've even put him on Liverpool's river frontage, and you can't get that sort of thing in the studio, can you? Well, anyway, with 5 cameras and the complicated vision mixer upstairs, you can tell that producing a television programme is quite complex and not a little time consuming. And in fact, as you can probably tell, rehearsals are about to start on this programme, so I've got to end right here. Is that all right? Shall I do it again? Sorry about the slippets.
Very good, yeah. Absolutely good. Go on 10 out of 10, Sam.